Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be doing a 12-team mock draft on Yahoo Fantasy. In this video, I'm going to be talking over all of my picks from the number 1 overall spot in this draft, as well as the other picks going on, so you guys can get a good understanding of my feeling throughout a 2021 fantasy football draft. If you guys do end up enjoying this video and you want more content, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out fantasy football content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. So without further ado, in 10 seconds, we are going to get into it. Now, at the number 1 overall spot, to me, I feel like there is one guy that I am just going to be drafting basically every single time. Now, this year, unlike years in the past, I need to mute that. I apologize for everyone's ears right there. But unlike other years, I feel as though it's almost locked in that, you know, maybe it'll be someone different every single time, whereas last year, it was always going to be Christian McCaffrey. Years past, it's always going to be this running back going at the number 1 overall spot, but unlike every year, I feel like people aren't necessarily sold in on Christian McCaffrey. Some people might want to draft Dalvin Cook. They might want to draft Derrick Henry. They might want to draft Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara at the number 1 overall spot. So I feel like that's a bit different to years prior, because normally it's like 95% of the time you see that number 1 overall guy come off the board every single time at the 1 spot. Whereas this year, I think things are going to be a little different. So the draft starts with me drafting Christian McCaffrey, followed by Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Dalvin Cook. Now, I would say this is pretty typical, but to be honest with you, I don't think it is. Christian McCaffrey going at the 1 spot, to me, that is going to be relatively normal. Again, I don't think it's going to happen in like 100% of the leagues, but I think in a lot of leagues, you're going to see McCaffrey go at the number 1 overall spot. But after that was Jonathan Taylor. To me, that is a bit of a reach due to the fact that Marlon Mack did end up signing back, due to the fact that he was a rookie last year. I think he should be pretty solid this year, but I don't really see him having number 2 year, like being running back number 2. Now, again, he easily could be, but I don't really see that happening, so I think that it was kind of a reach. After that is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is probably one of the safest running backs inside of the first round, just strictly based on the fact that he is going to get so many touches. He rushed for 2,000 yards last year for a reason, because they love to feed Derrick Henry in Tennessee. So while he doesn't necessarily have immense pass catching kind of capabilities or volume, because frankly, we never really see him get thrown the ball, and when he does, he kind of drops a lot of the times. So we haven't really seen Derrick Henry have much pass catching capability, but it hasn't seemed to matter throughout his career, so he should be fine regardless of that. After that is Dalvin Cook. That's the guy I would be taking at the number 2 overall spot, with that Minnesota Vikings offensive line getting a little bit better, with the fact that they are a team that likes to run the ball a decent amount. I think Cook should be pretty solid. Obviously, there is some injury concerns, right? He is going to end up getting hurt sometimes, but you know, it is what it is. After that is Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Daniel Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Cam Akers. Now, obviously, Mr. J Fall in here is trolling, but that's okay, because frankly, I'm not going to be someone who is going to get angry at something like that, so just don't pay attention to that. After Cam Akers comes D-Hop, Stephon Diggs, Noah Brown, and A.J. Brown, a double Brown inside of the second round, obviously, something that will never happen. After that is Najee Harris. So the first 2 rounds you're going to see are very heavily dominated by the running back position. It's going to happen in basically every single draft, and not every single draft, right? Because the second round is when you do start to see more wide receivers come off the board. So it's not necessarily heavily dominated by running backs in the second round, but the first round always is going to be, I would say, from around 7 to 10 running backs probably are going to go in the first round. Now, in some leagues, people will draft quarterbacks, they'll draft wide receivers and stuff, and if they're drafting tight ends, obviously, super early, or if they're drafting quarterbacks super early, then that number is going to be much lower of running backs going in the first round. I apologize if that thought sounded kind of scrambled like some eggs right there. I do apologize, but basically what I'm trying to go about saying is that in the first round, in some leagues, you're going to see a couple of quarterbacks potentially, or maybe Travis Kelce, and that will substantially change the amount of running backs going in the first round. But a good rule of thumb is that running backs are going to go heavy in the first 2 rounds of the draft, at least in the first round, and then around the second, third, and fourth round is when you see people start hammering the wide receiver position, and the running backs are coming off the board at a slower rate. This draft has been a lot different than that, because normally on Yahoo, where red is the running back. You're seeing a lot of red right here, but we've only seen one running back go inside the second round, which is very interesting. After A.J. Brown was Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, and Justin Jefferson. So A.J. Brown going ahead of Devontae Adams. Same thing goes with Diggs, Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins. Frankly, I don't see that happening much. The reason why I don't really see that happening much is because I think Devontae Adams is just super safe. I understand that I think Stephon Diggs could potentially be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy, but at that spot, I don't necessarily love it. So we're going to make our 2 picks here and then go back and talk about the other picks. Now, looking at running backs available, I talked yesterday about how I don't love Joe Mixon, so I'm not too sure we're going to go him here. Yeah, we're going to go safe and get Calvin Ridley there of the Atlanta Falcons. I love that pick because if Julio is gone, like I believe he will be, he is going to be seeing a lot of kind of offense or a lot of targets in that offense. Even he would have if Julio was there. So we have Joe Mixon available here. Again, I said he was a do not draft running back at the spot of at the early second round. In the third round, I will be very happy taking Joe Mixon to be my running back too, after I already have McCaffrey and Calvin Ridley. It seems as though that is a very safe approach, but when people are in the draft and they're going ahead and they want to draft a running back, or they want to draft a guy like Joe Mixon up here at the or the beginning part of the second round, frankly, I don't want to be doing that. So I think that is kind of the approach that you need to take on this. You need to understand that while I don't love Joe Mixon for this season like I did last year, you need to understand that even if I don't love the guy, even if I'm not super sold in on him, drafting him at the third round is a solid value. So after Travis Kelce came off the board, first tight end, he's going to come off the board in either the first or second round in a majority of leagues. I thought he would originally be like a top 8 pick in basically every single draft, but it seems as though that is not going to be happening as much as I thought it would. Maybe that's because this is a more regular draft with regular people, or if that's just because people are kind of scared of drafting Travis Kelce in the first round, which I thought would be completely different because I thought Travis Kelce finally broke the mold of people being very confident of drafting a tight end inside the first round. After Kelce was Austin Eckler, DK Metcalf, Antonio Gibson, Calvin Ridley, Joe Mixon, Patty Mahomes, Kyler Murray, George Kittle, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs. While I'm not a guy that likes drafting quarterbacks super early, I will tell you not to draft a quarterback in the first or the second round, because frankly, I do not think the value is worth it. And I also don't want to be the guy taking the first quarterback off the board in Patrick Mahomes, because I feel like it's a little bit of a reach. And the difference between Pat Mahomes, Kyler Murray, the guy who came off the board second, Josh Allen, all those guys that are like the upper echelon at the quarterback position, there isn't much of a difference. So while I don't necessarily like taking a quarterback early in the third round, frankly, I don't think it's all that bad of a pick. My friend Ben, who is in this draft, I do tweet out my drafts on Twitter, so if you guys do want to end up joining next time, I will be tweeting it out. Ben is in here from that. Shout out to my boy Ben over here drafting Kyler Murray. He is a Cardinals fan, but I do think it's pretty interesting to start a draft the way that he did, going running back, wide receiver, and quarterback. While again, I'm not advocating for you to draft a quarterback early, I don't necessarily hate it, but with the fact that there is a running back brigade going here, it will kind of scare me for who is second running back is going to end up being here. But again, everyone drafts differently. That's why fantasy football is so fun, because while I am someone who's a huge proponent of drafting running backs early, and often other people go a different route. They like to draft wide receivers super early, and either strategy can win. That's why it's so fun, at least to me. So after that is George Kittle, me Timbers, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, Fred Brown, Allen Robinson, and Terry McLaurin to close out the third round. So we see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 run at the running back position. Very interesting that Jacobs went ahead of Swift, Helaire, and Dobbins. So very interesting that Kittle is going to be going so close to Kelce in these drafts, and Waller is still kind of waiting out there. So it's interesting to see, because in my opinion, I think that Waller is kind of the skill set of Kittle, or like of the fantasy tier ranking of a guy like Kittle, of a guy like Kelce. So I think it's very close. So the fact that someone down here is going to be able to get Waller, that's going to make the guy who drafted George Kittle pretty sad, at least if I was the guy who pulled the trigger on Kittle, because I think that Waller, honestly, is better than Kittle for fantasy football. Nick, that's fucking crazy. Kittle's amazing. I understand Kittle is amazing, so don't crucify me for that, but I do think that a lot of people are really going to start liking Darren Waller, especially with the fact that we don't know how the quarterback situation is going to go in San Francisco. Are we going to be seeing Trey Lance? Are we going to see Jimmy Garoppolo? Are we going to be seeing both? Is it going to be an in and out kind of like Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick? Frankly, I don't know. So after Terry McLaurin, the 4th round begun with Chris Carson, Josh Allen, Spencer Brown, Mike Evans, Darren Waller, and Keenan Allen. So looking at that, I really do like Chris Carson as a 4th round pick. I feel as though he's a very, very safe running back with easily top 12 upside, a very safe running back because Seattle likes to run the ball, and Chris Carson is always productive every single year for fantasy football and is criminally underrated every single year. It's kind of like Aaron Jones, how he's been super productive, normally a top 5 back, but he's not being drafted as a top 5 back because people are a little scared. I do understand this year actually why people are not drafting him, obviously because of the fact that they don't know if it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, Blake Bortles. I doubt it'll be Blake Bortles of the boat, but it could be. So I think that people are afraid of Aaron Rodgers not being there. So after TJ Hawkinson came Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, and Amari Cooper. So now I am up to bat here. And I do have 2 running backs. I have 1 wide receiver, but I think it's perfectly fine drafting another running back here if I loved one, but I don't necessarily love those guys, but I do really like one of these wide receivers, and that's Robert Woods of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I do take him in a lot of drafts, so I do apologize for people looking for a newer wide receiver inside of the 4th round, but he's a guy that's going to be a staple in my roster, in a lot of my rosters, due to the fact that I love the Rams so much this year, and I like Robert Woods so much, but I will be taking David Johnson inside of the 5th round. Frankly, I'm not too sure I like him more than Gaskin, but at the end of the day, I think that David Montgomery showed enough last season to be worthy of a 5th round pick. Now, with Tariq Cohen coming back, that scares me, but that's baked into his ADP. That's why he's going in the 5th round, not in like the 2nd or 3rd round where he probably would have been had Tariq Cohen not came back or not have been coming back or something like that. Because if Cohen's gone, then David Montgomery is going to be seeing both rushing and receiving volume, which is something that he needs to be very good in fantasy football, but I project that his receiving yards are going to go down, as does Yahoo with Tariq Cohen back. But even with that, he should be solid enough to be worth the 5th round pick, but I wouldn't pay too high of a price for him. I like Mike Davis a lot as well. After I went ahead and drafted Robert Woods and David Montgomery came Myles Gaskin, Chase Edmonds, DJ Moore, Kareem Hunt, Adam Thielen, Lamar Jackson, CeeDee Lamb, and Dak Prescott. Now, Ben went with Chase Edmonds here, and if I'm being honest with you, I really like Chase Edmonds, but call me a little bit crazy, but I think James Conner could be taking enough volume to where the fact is that you're not super happy with Chase Edmonds. I'm not all out fading Chase Edmonds. I'm seeing a lot of people being super scared to draft him. I think that he's worth a high upside pick in the 5th round because we have seen him be very valuable for fantasy football in the past. We have last season when Kenyon Drake was out, he was looking pretty solid, but I'm not too sure that Cliff Kingsbury believes that he is a true workhorse back, and that kind of is clear by the fact that they added James Conner. Another pick right here, Myles Gaskin. Like I said, I like Gaskin a lot. I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch, Floyd Mayweather style, with Gaskin as well as Salvon Ahmed, and hopefully if Gaskin is able to stay healthy, he will be a very good steal inside of the 5th round. Another pick that I really like is Kareem Hunt. Now, with Hunt, that's a pick that just screams safety, okay? You're drafting Kareem Hunt because you want to be safe. You're not taking a super high upside pick because the upside of Kareem Hunt is very limited by the fact that Nick Chubb is starting ahead of him. Now, Kareem Hunt's a safe running back week in and week out, but the fact of him dropping 20-plus points maybe a couple weeks in a row on the season is limited because Nick Chubb is going to be getting a lot of that rushing volume. If Chubb gets hurt, then you're very happy with that pick. If Chubb doesn't get hurt, then you're just okay with that pick, right? He's your running back 3. He's safe. You put him in the flex every once in a while. You're not going to be pissed off that you drafted Kareem Hunt, but you're also not going to be super happy. So that's just kind of how I feel about him. Does that mean I'm fading him? No, I actually like drafting Kareem Hunt since he is so safe. So after Mike Davis came Deontay Johnson, Mark Andrews, Melvin Gordon, Diami Brown, James Robinson, Russell Wilson, Travis Etienne, Tyler Lockett, Cooper Kupp, and Kenny Golladay. So very interesting that James Robinson went inside of the 6th round ahead of Travis Etienne, whereas in a lot of drafts, I'm seeing Etienne get drafted ahead of James Robinson. Now, people were crucifying me saying, oh, Nick, there's no way Travis Etienne isn't going to be getting a lot of volume. They drafted him in the 1st round. how do you know that he's not going to get a lot of volume? Because they still have Carlos Hyde there and James Robinson, to the fact that that really scares me away from a guy like Travis Etienne. Ben going with Leonard Fournette. Now, Fournette's a very interesting pick, if I'm being honest with you, but I don't want to be drafting any of these Tampa Bay guys. I think if one of them was to find true form and really started balling week in, week out, you could feel ultra comfortable with them. But if not, I think you're going to be pulling your hair out week in and week out. So at this pick here, we have a bunch of running backs. We have a couple of wide receivers. Tight ends not looking the greatest. Quarterback not looking the greatest. So we're just going to go ahead and play it safe and draft Damien Harris, running back of the New England Patriots. Now, I think that Damien Harris, he does have limited upside because of his kind of receiving upside in that offense, right? Because he's never really been a pass catcher, but I think that when you look at it in college, he was a pretty solid pass catcher. He just wasn't given the opportunity in New England. So you have to think to yourself, will he ever be given the opportunity in New England to catch passes this season? I'm not sure, but I do feel like he's a starting running back in the NFL. And in the 6th round, that's honestly worth it because you're getting a guy that's at least going to be getting probably 10 plus points every single game. So after Damien Harris and Chase Claypool came Brandon Ayuk, Odell Beckham Jr., Javonte Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Dallas Goedert, and Courtland Sutton. I like Justin Herbert a lot here in the 6th round, but when you already have Patrick Mahomes, don't be trigger happy on quarterback, in my opinion. Typically, I try to wait a little bit before drafting a second quarterback, but if I'm pulling the trigger on Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round, I'm confident that Mahomes is going to play all these games and carry me to a championship, where I don't want to be drafting Justin Herbert. I don't want to be drafting a second quarterback at all in that case. Obviously, there's potential for Mahomes to end up getting hurt, but on that case, you already invested so much, you probably just want to be picking someone up that has a decent amount of upside. So after Ayuk, Odell, Javonte Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Dallas Goedert, Courtland Sutton, Noah Fant, Pharaoh Brown, Kyle Pitts, Raheem Mostert, and T. Higgins. Now, this is what is interesting. Kyle Pitts going in the 7th round here. Now, I have talked a lot about how Kyle Pitts is going to get sucked off to be like a 3rd round pick, and how much that kind of scares me, how I'm very worried to draft Kyle Pitts at such a high premium because he is a rookie tight end, and typically rookie tight ends don't perform all that well, obviously, in the rookie season. But again, Pitts could break that mold. So am I comfortable drafting him in the 7th round? Yes. Am I comfortable drafting him in the 3rd round? Hell to the no. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think he's going to be much closer to the 3rd round than to the 7th round. By the time all the hype goes there for Kyle Pitts, once you see some fucking preseason clip of Kyle Pitts looking like an animal, catching a ball, just scoring a touchdown or something, people are going to get rock hard for Kyle Pitts, and it is going to be 3rd round season for Pitts. In that case, I am fading the fuck out of him. After Kyle Pitts, we see Raheem Mostert, T. Higgins, the LA defense, Jake Browning, Ronald Jones, DJ Chark, Washington, Robbie Anderson, Pittsburgh, and Jalen Hurts. What's funny is this guy over here, Jay Fall, he's probably thinking, because I did tweet this out on Twitter, so maybe he's a Twitter guy, he's thinking, you know what, this will make Nick mad if I do this, frankly. I don't care, buddy. It's okay. After the Steelers comes Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is interesting as quarterback 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So quarterback 11 off the board. That's interesting. But as like a top 10 guy where I'm seeing him go in a lot of leagues, I am very worried about that. So we are back up on the board here, looking to probably go tight end maybe. No. Quarterbacks, yeah, I'm going to go with Stafford here to stack with Robert Woods. Now, again, I'm not necessarily someone who is looking for a stack in every single draft, but I do think that it's awesome getting the double points for the touchdown for Stafford to Woods, and since I believe they will be such a strong offense, I am happy paying that price here. 9th round, is it too high is the question to draft a handcuff? Probably. So I will go with a higher upside wide receiver here. And we're going to go with Brandon Cooks. Now, again, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be there for that team. We don't know who the Houston Texans quarterback is going to be. Will it be Deshaun Watson? We probably don't know. We don't know. I have no idea if it will be Deshaun Watson. Will it be Davis Mills? Will it be Tyrod Taylor? Now, either way, you are taking the shot right now. The bet on this pick is it's a 9th round pick. So obviously it's not necessarily a dart throw because it's not your last pick, but it's also not a pick that you're like, this pick has to pay off, right? You're not thinking, I need this pick to hit. So when you're drafting Brandon Cooks, you're getting a wide receiver 1 on an offense. Now, I understand the Houston Texans offense is limp dick. They fucking suck. They're without Deshaun Watson, they are going to be terrible. But you have to understand that he's still the number 1 target. Even if it's a bad offense, you are taking the shot on the number 1 wide receiver on a team in the 9th round. And to me, that is worth the value. It is worth the shot on him. Some people will disagree. They'll be like, Nick, I would have much rather drafted a safe wide receiver. I would have much rather have pulled the trigger on Curtis Samuel or Tyler Boyd or Jamar Chase, something like that. I want to feel super safe with my pick. Now, I'm not someone who needs to feel super safe with a pick this late in the draft, so I am A-okay with making a pick like that. So after I went Brandon Cooks, the Baltimore Ravens defense came off the board, followed by David Johnson, Deebo Samuel, Justin Tucker the fucker, Gus Edwards, Harrison Butker, A.J. Dillon, Jerry Jeudy, and Jawan Green. So very interesting here that we see Kenyon Drake be an 8th round pick. That is a guy that I really like. I think people will probably talk him up higher by the time we are drafting because I think that Josh Jacobs, maybe John Gruden just doesn't like him. That has to be true. John Gruden must hate Kenyon Drake if he was willing to dismantle the offensive line, or hate Josh Jacobs if he's willing to dismantle his offensive line and bring in Kenyon Drake. I think that Kenyon Drake has a lot of kind of potential if Josh Jacobs was to go down. If not, I think that he's still going to be a pass-catching back worthy of starting in the flex some weeks in plus matchup. So in the 8th round, that's honestly not that bad. After Justin Tucker the fucker came Gus Edwards, Harrison Butker the fucker, A.J. Dillon, Jerry Jeudy, Jawan Green, my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku, Zach Moss, Joe Burrow, Will Fuller, Farrell Green, Hollywood Brown, Matt Ryan, Tyler Higbee, Tariq Cohen. Now, let me tell you something real quick about Hollywood Brown. That is a guy who, in my opinion, will never pay off. He's a guy that every couple of weeks, this dude is going to drop a 30 bomb, meaning he is going to go balls deep inside a defense. He's going to hit him with the 1-2 Mayweather KO. But then there's going to be the other weeks, right? The other 13, 14 games now with 17 game season. There's going to be those other 14 games where the guy completely sucks and he's just screwing you over, but those 3 games you're just chasing the high with, and you try to start him up against a bad defense and then he plays terrible and he balls out against a good defense. To me, it is just not worth the risk, even in the 10th round. That's just not a guy I'm looking to draft. So looking back onto the running back core, obviously Gus Edwards is gone, but I think Michael Carter Jr. could be the starting running back of the New York Football Jets. The new regime brought him in. They don't have anything for LaMichael P. Ryan. They don't really care about LaMichael P. Ryan. I would think maybe Tevin Coleman will be involved, but I think Carter is worth a late-round flyer, being that he could be the number 1 running back on that team. At the tight end position here, I'm willing to draft Robert Tonyan. Now, with Tonyan, obviously, when I pull the trigger and I draft this guy, I'm hoping that Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback. If he's not, then there's no way you should be drafting Robert Tonyan in the 11th round. But I think he's getting severely underrated right now based upon the numbers he put up last year. Now, he was a guy going into fantasy drafts that, frankly, I was not talking about at all because the Green Bay Packers had like 3 fucking tight ends that could have been the guy. I thought it was going to be some other tight end whose name has escaped me because he was not good at all. And then Robert Tonyan emerged as the guy. If he does end up staying as the guy in 2021, you should be relatively happy with that pick. Now, he did score 11 touchdowns last year, which juiced his numbers very heavily, but I still think that it is possible if Rodgers is still on fire, still playing good, still playing like I fucking hate this GM because they won't bring me in a wide receiver, which is hilarious because Julio Jones is available and you see not a single report about how the Green Bay Packers are looking to get Julio Jones. How this is just so messed up because Rodgers is so pissed at this front office. He's going on these TV shows basically telling the ownership, the GM, to go fuck themselves, that he wants these weapons. He's not even mad that they drafted Jordan Love, even though he definitely is, but he's not going to say that. State Farm Rodgers, he's not saying that. He's saying that he wants these, he basically is implying that the GM is not giving him the weapons that he deserves, which I agree. never has been given a wide receiver 2. He's basically just throwing the ball to Devontae Adams and a mix of a bunch of other bums. And frankly, I feel sad for Rodgers for that, even though I don't necessarily love Rodgers. He's a great NFL player. He's fun to watch on the Pat McAfee show, which has really changed my opinion personally on Aaron Rodgers, because I used to think he was just a schmuck, frankly. But I think that if the Packers aren't making a move for Julio Jones, maybe Rodgers does just sit out. I honestly didn't think it was possible, but maybe he's just like, you know what? Let's see what happens with Jordan Love. You're going to be so pissed. You're going to be calling my phone all night long, and then maybe we'll get something done next year's draft. They haven't drafted a skill position player for this guy since he's been the starting quarterback. The only time they actually did it was to draft Jordan Love, so he is definitely big mad about that, and I understand it. Sorry about going on some rant about Aaron Rodgers, but I thought it was pretty relevant to our conversation. Anthony Firkser going in the 11th round. Now, Firkser is a guy that I really like, or Firkser, for the Tennessee Titans as a late-round tight end. But if they end up bringing in Julio Jones to Tennessee, I think Firkser's kind of humongous upside with Janu gone, with Corey Davis gone, has been dismantled. It just will have been. After that, we see Jamar Chase, Trey Sermon, Tyler, Boyd, Devontae Parker, Tony Pollard, Michael Pittman, Mike Williams, Green Bay defense, Devin Singletary, Kirk Cousins, Irv Smith, Ryan Tannehill, Mike White, Jarvis Landry, Logan Thomas, Latavius Murray, and Darrell Henderson. So now we are about to be back up on the board. Nyheim Hines, I know I have not even told you guys to subscribe yet in this video, besides at the beginning, normally about 10 minutes, and I say it, so we're like 25 minutes in. If you guys have ended up enjoying, which you probably have, right? You made it 25 minutes into a video that you're not subscribed to the channel, so make sure you do that. I really would appreciate that. I just realized like half my face is white because of the light. I look fucking looking crazy, but it's okay. No one really cares, I don't think so. After that was the Tampa Bay defense, the Colts defense. Now, while I'm not someone to draft a defense super early, this is around the range where I'm willing to do it, or draft a kicker, but higher than this, higher than like your last 3-4 picks, to me is just kind of a bit ridiculous. So we do have a tight end. We basically have everything here, so we're just going to start hammering running backs, or maybe a backup tight end since I'm not ultra confident in Tanyan. So we're going to go with my boy Jamal Williams. I think actually has a lot of potential in Detroit if they aren't willing to give the workhorse role to DeAndre Swift, which it seems like they're not going to. It seems like they like Jamal Williams a lot there, which would make sense because they liked him a lot in Green Bay as well. So we are going to snag a backup tight end, even though that's a little against my draft strategy. But when you draft Tanyan, who I don't necessarily love, I'm willing to take a higher upside shot here deeper in the draft. So we're going to go ahead here and draft. Let's see. We're going to go with Cole Komet. Obviously, Jimmy Graham has not yet left the Bears, but I think he should be gone. And then it's going to be Cole Komet season in Chicago. Again, it's an upside pick. He's not my starting tight end. If Robert Tonyan pans out, if Aaron Rodgers is there, then we're fine. You don't even need fucking Cole Komet. But if Rodgers doesn't come back, if things start looking a little dicey in Green Bay, then hey, we still have Cole Komet, or we could just cut him, pick someone else up. I like Troutman a lot as well in New Orleans. So now we are a couple of picks off of being done. I'm probably just going to honestly fast forward into the 14th round unless I find something to start rambling about and talking about. So actually we'll do that. Now, Greg Zerline, I don't understand, frankly, why people are drafting Greg Zerline so high. In all these drafts, it seems like he's like a third-round pick in a lot of these leagues, and I just don't really understand. Or not third-round pick, but he's like the third or fourth kicker off in every single league, and frankly, I don't understand that. But maybe that's just me. It seems like Zerline hasn't been as good as he was like 2-3 years ago for the Rams, when this guy is just, he put up like a 35-point game a couple of years ago. I don't even remember who they were playing, and it beat me down in fantasy. That's kind of why I get annoyed playing with kickers and stuff, but it is what it is. An 18-game NFL season could be on the way. NFL report now. Now, look, this has nothing to do with the video, but it does because we're talking about fantasy football. Let me know down below if any of you guys would be happy if they played 18 games. The answer is going to be no one. No one wants more fucking games. I like football, but no one wants that because now they're going to have to add a second bye week. Now the season is going to drag on. It is going to be so bad for fantasy as well. Stop adding more fucking games. 16 games was perfect. At least to me it was. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, Daniel Jones is going to be a guy that a lot of people are going to try to whirlwind themselves in a liking. Now, again, in the 14th round, sure, take your shot on him because, frankly, I understand that. And I understand drafting basically any quarterback down here because they have some upside, but I am kind of lower down on Daniel Jones. I was pretty high on him last year, thinking he was going to turn it all around, and frankly, it just never happened. Now, does that mean that he'll never figure it out? Maybe, because this is probably Daniel Jones' last chance, the last ride, the last dance, the last rodeo for Daniel Jones, because if they brought in Kenny Golladay and he fucking sucks again, he keeps turning the ball over, he keeps fumbling, then frankly, I think that's the last we'll ever see of Danny Dimes in the NFL. So after that, we see Jamison Crowder, Evan Ingram, Deshaun Watson, Philip Lindsay. Now again, hopefully we know what's happening with Watson by August, because obviously Watson is the greatest pick ever in the 14th round if he ends up playing, but he may not even play at all this season. That was just a wasted pick, but I guess it's worth the upside. Let's hope that Deshaun Watson obviously didn't do that, because if he did do that, he is one of the worst human beings ever. So fuck Deshaun Watson if that's the case. Philip Lindsay and Ryan Suckup. So we're going kicker and defense. For our kicker, we're going to just go ahead and pick Jason Sanders, my guy of the Miami Dolphins. And for defense, you want to find a defense playing a not-so-hot offense week 1, and then just play them, and then the next week you know, switch it out for another team playing up against a bad offense. I make videos every single week on defenses to pick up, so it should be relatively easy for you. For now, we're going to go with Denver. Again, are they the best defense available? I don't know, based upon their matchup, but that's just what I was picking based off of. So we are done. Our team is going to be flying onto the screen here. We got Matthew Stafford as our starting quarterback. Our 2 wideouts are Calvin Ridley and Robert Woods. Our running backs are Christian McCaffrey and Joe Mixon. Our tight end is Robert Tonyan. Our flex is David Montgomery. Our bench is comprised of Damien Harris, Chase Claypool, Brandon Cooks, Michael Carter, Jamal Williams, Cole Comet. Our kicker is Jason Sanders, and our defense is the Denver defense. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This is the rest of the draft. I'm not going to go ahead and wait because, frankly, people are just going to be taking kickers and defenses at this point. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you had any questions throughout this draft, you want to know my opinion on any of the players, let me know. I would love to talk to you in the comments. I love you guys all. Stay safe, as always. Good boy.